It's the middle of spring and we're talking water collection. Hello, hello. Welcome back to Pittsburgh Home Garden, where today I am setting up a very sustainable, expandable, and cheap DIY water collection system using these 5-gallon jugs. Now, I am someone who takes his hydration very seriously, as I hope you do as well. So a couple years ago, I actually stopped buying water bottles and decided to invest in just a water cooler, one that you would find in like offices, but it's set up next to my kitchen, which I actually found out saves me a ton of money. It certainly lowers my plastic waste. And if I wanted to, I could certainly trade in these jugs every time I buy a new one. But I tend to keep them around because I kind of had this idea brewing for the last couple months. So as you can see, the basic premise of this idea is very basic. Just moving water from one jug to another jug, and each jug is able to hold up to 5 gallons of water. So when the storm is going along and as you go down the train of 5-gallon jugs I will have, as this one fills up with water, this will actually start to fill until this hits a point in which the water can no longer escape. And then I would have another hose on the other side of this, leading to another one, and another one, and another one. And with this technique, every week and a half that I go through these 5-gallon jugs, because I'm all about my hydration, every week and a half, I'll be able to add another jug in line, possibly adding up to 20 more gallons of water storage every month from now on. So now let me show you the basic tools that you'll need to set this baby up, and let's actually start talking about drill placement. Okay, so it has actually started to rain here, which is very apropos for what we have going on. And it's just been like super rainy here in the Berg. The weather has been pretty strange. I'm going to cover some of my tomatoes tonight, actually, because it's going to drop down into like 47, 45 for the next 3 nights. And that's a little bit too sketchy for me. But nonetheless, it's perfect for what we're doing here, which is a very simple setup. It only needs about 4 different tools. You need a drill, you need a small set of these brad point drill bits, or any type of drill bit that just, is meant to poke into something. My sizes here are 1/4 is my smallest, and my largest is actually up to 1/2 inch. I have a gutter extension, which actually extends pretty long if I wanted it to. I don't think I'll need all of that, but these are fairly cheap. You can find these at any type of hardware store. And of course, the connector of all the jugs, which is going to be my aquarium tubing. This tubing has never been through any type of like synthetic material. I have only used this to take water from my fish tank aquarium, which is filled with dirty, nasty turtles who poop everywhere. So it's the only thing that has been in here is turtle poop. It is rated to be water friendly, so it actually is safe for drinking. I won't be drinking it at all, but it certainly will be safe for my plants. And that's about it. And depending on the size of the tubing you get, of course, you'll have to measure that against the biggest of your drill bits, because what you want to do is make this hole very, very small compared to the actual hose that'll fit through. I'll show you how to actually get it through so there's no water that's ever leaking out when water just happens to be in your jug. But let's get into the beginning part of all of this, which of course is the placement of your drill holes. So I think it'll be most simple if we just start with jug number 1. The jug that is actually going to be attached to your gutter placement. Now, I am going to take off the top, which I will show you how to do in just a moment. But right now, the most important thing is thinking about where the exit of this jug is going to be. So because it is going to be the first jug in this line of jugs, I actually don't mind if this one relatively stays empty because it is feeding everything else. So I want to put this hole very low because the water pressure as this fills up will actually force the water out of this jug through my rubber tubing into the next one in line. And every single one will work that way, but I believe the most important one is, the start of the line. It kicks off everything. It sets the tempo for everything. So we're going to put this hole actually very low to the bottom, right along the bottom ridge. If you are using the 5-gallon jugs, I imagine you could use tons of different types of jugs if you decide to do this. The one reason why I am doing this is strictly because the price of, the affordable water capture systems online just doesn't reflect the quality of them. All the ones that you see ranging from, 50 to 75 to $100 all have terrible reviews after a half of year of actual use, because the sides, they tend to bend out. The stakes that you use are probably cheap plastic, and I just don't want to do that. So while I'm minimizing my, plastic output, I'm actually reusing the plastic, I feel like, in a very good way, because this is going to help me during the drought periods that we suffer through during the beginning of the season. Okay, so as you can see, I was using the progression of the bits to slowly make the hole wider, because if you try to make the big hole off the rip, you tend to run into the dangers of maybe splitting the plastic a bit more than what you want. So there's just a lot more control in actually using the bits from smallest to largest. So now let's talk about how to actually get your extension on your water jug. These are heavy plastic, water jugs that are plastic safe, because they have to go on long journeys on trucks, and it's very thick plastic, very thick, durable plastic. So instead of trying to use large scissors or any type of fire to burn a hole through here, you can actually use your smallest drill bit again and just go around in a circle. So what I am actually going to do is just take a marker, leave the extension on the top, and outline a circle all around the lid point. That way I know where to drill my tiny bit of holes that are going to encircle and slowly take away the entire top of this thing. Okay, so that actually took a little bit longer than what I thought. But as you can see, the process is just drilling holes all around so it can make that thick plastic come off a little bit easier. You might have to put in just a little bit more effort at the end to snatch it off, but it will eventually come off. So let's talk about our actual gutter placement. So because this is the first one, this is where the extension is going to go, of course. And when thinking about your gutters, it's important to know that most gutter systems aren't one single piece. So you may have to use a flathead screwdriver to actually take off just a section. I know for me, I'm actually going to make a cut on my gutter line. This is very thin, aluminum. It's not too hard of a cut, but I don't want to extend this all the way out because, of course, your jug is sitting on the ground. So to make sure this is sitting nice and snug and perfectly, I'm going to make a cut right here in the middle before I start to connect the other bottles to my main leader. So now that your gutter attachment is actually on the gutter and you're making sure that it will reach the actual jug, you can go ahead and start thinking about your line from your first jug. How close is going to be your second jug? For me, I know that I actually want my second jug to be at least 4 feet across, maybe 3 feet, because I have a nice little retaining wall over here where I am going to lay the first line of my jugs, and then my plan is to actually be able to snake them. So I'm not taking up too much space, but I'm also collecting tons of water throughout the summer, the fall, and the winter. So I am going to be cutting my line fairly long, and let me show you how I actually get this in here, because there is a specific technique that you want to use to make sure that you don't lose any water for leakage. You want to take your hose and you kind of want to flatten it out as best as possible, maybe a couple inches, 3-4 inches, try to flatten it. And then you want to take it and bend it almost like a sandwich to where you're left with something like this, because this is the part that's going to squeeze in the hole. And then once it actually goes through the hole, it will expand and will fill the entire hole up, leading to no gaps and to make sure there's no leakage. So you want to take your sandwich in and really force it into the hole. Takes a little bit of pressure. Don't get frustrated, because it is quite frustrating. You can also take the much simpler route and take some needle nose pliers and go ahead and crimp the hose like that. That way it's a lot easier to do, number one, and you don't destroy your thumbs like I did. Okay, so now let's talk about the second jug and the hole placement that comes with it, because it is the second in what eventually could be 100-gallon line. This jug actually isn't too important on saying too full. It's very similar to your first jug, which will actually never see a full 5 gallons unless every single jug ahead of it is actually full. So with your second, you want to put your hole fairly low, so that is your water intake. And for my water outtake, I am going to be drilling the hole maybe about halfway up. Okay, so as you can see, the second jug is installed. It is nice and leveled. And I'm just going to continue to do this down the line. No matter how you're going to set your water collection system up, the most important things are thinking about your water inlet and your water outlet, because the water should never really raise above your water outlet, because the water will then be draining to another jug. So I'm going to go ahead and basically do the same thing for all the remaining jugs that I have in line. And when thinking about your last jug, you actually have a couple options. You could just leave it as is and disconnect the line, maybe tie it off and use that jug, just kind of pouring it out straight from the jug itself. Or you could do like I did and actually add some type of spout. I had this old hose spout that broke off and I had to get a new one, but it was good enough to use for something like this, because actually my main use of this collection water is going to be for a slow drip type of system. I have one of those like very porous hose that you lay down, and it's almost like a drip irrigation type of line. So I will just be able to open up one of these spigots and the water will flow naturally all the way to my garden. So of course, because this is the last jug, it's going to go at the last of the line and will remain at the last of the line at all times. I'll just have to move my hose the more and more that I connect more and more jugs. So I guess now we just wait for the next storm and see if this is going to work out the way I think so. So I'll see you then. All right, so it has been roughly, 4 or 5 days since the original build, and it has actually started to rain here in beautiful Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. And I'm very happy to report that the water system is at 90%. It is working. This is like super exciting to see. One, because it came from my own dead hands. And two, I'm actually for the first time, since living here, able to capture water. I've had this idea for maybe about 1.5 years. It just never really put it in action. I had a lot of doubts about it, and it's actually working. Now, when I was testing over the last 2 days, I found out that my actual last jug, the sealant hadn't dried properly before I got to testing it. So I had to leave this off to make sure that I don't lose all this wonderful water through leaking. So tomorrow, when it's a bit more dry, I'm going to go ahead and test this bottom one out, and the system should be complete. And I have actually just gone through another jug of water because I'm super hydrated. So I'm going to show how to go ahead and add another jug to make it super easy and make this whole system super expandable. I'm really excited to see just this happening. I got out of bed like a kid on Christmas. Look, Mom, I'm collecting water. We are back here on another rainy day here in Pittsburgh, which is perfect because I have a brand new jug to add to my water collection line. I don't know what to call this because it has been raining so much. Right now I'm starting to see the actual jugs actually store water because the water has nowhere to go. My bottom 3 jugs are all filled up, so this is already 15 gallons of water captured within 2 days of the rain, and I am starting to get a bunch of backflow. So this is where you start to insert your brand new empty jugs. The more that you drink upstairs, the more that you can hold downstairs. I do some innuendo in that, huh? So I'm gonna go ahead and add my empty jug along the line, probably about right here on my 3rd jug, because when this actually starts to back up, it's gonna become a problem because my first initial 2, which are kind of like my filter jugs, they are also going to back up. So the plan is to use my new empty jug as a relief jug, for now, and it's adding another 5 gallons that are being held within this line. So I'm gonna add a line a little bit higher up than my original outlet line. So when the water continues to fill up, it will just drain out into my empty one. And because because I know that not everybody has dirty turtles in their house or an aquarium at all, I just went out to Lowe's and I purchased some 2-inch tubing, which you can find at Lowe's or Home Depot for about $13. It's 20 feet for $13, which I think is a solid deal, especially if you're not on a slope and your jugs can fit more, side to side. You can kind of just really zigzag it. So, of course, for this water collection thing to work, I needed the ending part to work and stop leaking. So I went ahead and I shored up my once broken spout. It is now a refixed spout. It is put back to use. It has a job once more. Hopefully throughout this entire video, I have inspired you to maybe throw away less, maybe reuse more if possible. So let's go ahead and actually connect the line to this last jug. Gonna be a bit of a struggle because the jug previous to this is nice and full. It's fully ready to let go of that water. So I'm gonna try to get the hose in here as quick as possible, and we'll watch all the water just like work its way down to this main mother jug. And with the last hose connected, as you can see, the water is flowing lovely and the DIY water system is actually complete. There are a few adjustments I want to make. I want to resize some of these hose cuttings. I would like this jug not have to be so close against here, so I'm gonna have to resize that, but that's all after I get to use what is now 40 gallons of captured water just from 2 rainstorms. And every month, if I continue to keep up my hydration, I might be able to add up to 15 to 20 gallons. So I would like to thank you for watching. As always, the summer is going to be long and prosperous for all of us. I can feel it in the air. So until next time, I'll be here gardening.